In ghost lore, a ghost train is a phantom vehicle in the form of a locomotive or train. The ghost train differs from other traditional forms of haunting in that rather than being a static location where ghosts are claimed to be present, the apparition is the entire train. According to the Wikipedia page, a phantom funeral train is said to run regularly from Washington, D.C. to Springfield, Illinois, around the time of the anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's death, stopping watches and clocks in surrounding areas as it passes. The Sedlitz Ossuary is a Roman Catholic chapel, located beneath the Cemetery Church of All Saints in the Czech Republic, and is estimated to contain the skeletons of between 40 and 70,000 people, whose bones have, in many cases, been artistically arranged to form decorations for the chapel. The main piece being a chandelier of bones, which contains at least one of every bone in the human body. It hangs from the center of the nave with garlands of skulls draping the vault. Alien hand syndrome is a category of conditions in which a person experiences their limbs acting seemingly on their own, without conscious control over the actions. There are a variety of clinical conditions that fall under this category, which most commonly affects the left hand. There are many similar terms for the various forms of the condition, but they are often used inappropriately. The affected person may sometimes reach for objects and manipulate them without wanting to do so, even to the point of having to use the controllable hand to restrain the alien hand. Under normal circumstances, however, given that intent and action can be assumed to be deeply mutually entangled, the occurrence of alien hand syndrome can be usefully conceptualized as a phenomenon reflecting a functional disentanglement between thought and action. Alien hand syndrome is best documented in cases where a person has had the two hemispheres of their brain surgically separated, a procedure sometimes used to relieve the symptoms of extreme cases of epilepsy and epileptic psychosis, for example, temporal lobe epilepsy. It also occurs in some cases after brain surgery, stroke, infection, tumor, aneurysm, migraine, and specific degenerative brain conditions such as Alzheimer's disease, corticobasal degeneration, and Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. Other areas of the brain that are associated with alien hand syndrome are the frontal, occipital, and parietal lobes. A mellified man, also known as a human mummy confection, was a legendary medicinal substance created by steeping a human cadaver in honey. The concoction is detailed in Chinese medical sources, including the Bensao Gong Mu of the 16th century. Relying on a second-hand account, the text reports a story that some elderly men in Arabia, nearing the end of their lives, would submit themselves to a process of mummification in honey to create a healing confection. This process differed from a simple body donation because of the aspect of self-sacrifice. The mummification process would ideally start before death. The donor would stop eating any food other than honey, going as far as to bathe in the substance. Shortly, the donor's feces and even sweat would consist of honey. When this diet finally proved fatal, the donor's body would be placed in a stone coffin filled with honey. After a century or so, the contents would have turned into a sort of confection reputedly capable of healing broken limbs and other ailments. This confection would then be sold in street markets as a hard-to-find item with a hefty price. The Nazino tragedy was the mass deportation of about 6,700 prisoners to Nazino Island, located on the Obi River in West Siberian Krai, Russian SFSR, Soviet Union, now Tomsk Oblast, Russia, in May 1933. Sent to construct a special settlement and to cultivate the island, the deportees were abandoned with only scant supplies of flour for food, little to no tools, and virtually none of the clothing or shelter necessary to survive the harsh Siberian climate. Conditions on Nazino Island deteriorated quickly and resulted in widespread disease, violence, and cannibalism. Within 13 weeks, over 4,000 of the deportees had died or disappeared, and the majority of the survivors were in ill health. Those who attempted to leave were killed by armed guards. The original report on the incident was made by Vasily Velichko, a Soviet propaganda worker, and passed to Joseph Stalin and to other members of the Politburo, who were noticeably disturbed by its contents. The report remained classified until the human rights organization Memorial conducted an investigation in 1988, 5 decades after the events. The tragedy was popularized in 2002, When reports from a September 1933 special commission by the Communist Party were published by Memorial.